This is an update on the Vocational Committee, which I've chaired for coming up for 3 years, and I'm very pleased to be able to announce that Andrew Miller is going to take on chairing. Is Andrew here? Andrew, yes, just show others here. Andrew gave a talk about his own background from having travelled the world with multinational corporations, and he's now looking forward to having a more active involvement in the Wellington community. And I've put on the board here the activities of this club, and then I've got a quiz I'm going to engage you in after this first slide. The first is the social enterprise approach, which one stage we've had Alex Hannant, who's the Chief Executive of the Kina Foundation. Now last week, after about a year of delving into the topic, the board has been willing to put $10,000 into a fund for what will probably be a first, second, third type allocation of the funds on that date. That fifth Monday, we're going to meet here in the evening and not have a lunch meeting on the Monday, and see a number of presentations by social enterprises which are relevant to the Wellington community, and maybe some have a national perspective. For those who are really interested in this topic, there's a Launchpad program that Kina is running, and we'll have presentations at the end of March. Catch me afterwards if you're interested in that. The skilled migrants has long been one of the main activities of this vocational committee, and over the last 2 years the most effort had to go into getting this back on the books through government reorganisations, which led to it the funding disappearing. And Jeff Baskand, I want to pay tribute to the work that Jeff put in there, and that program is right back on track with that date coming up. The third area that we've tended to work on is the vocational visits. You can see where there are still some to come, and I'm particularly keen this committee has a couple of people who might take a real interest in that as an activity that they would follow through, and that we had regular visits, sort of something like 8 to 9 per year. Social enterprise. Here's the spectrum, and we've heard today the rugby union one can place on the spectrum of organisations that have a wider set of goals than profit return. And that those ones in the blue there are the ones, this is the area where the most action is occurring internationally and locally on the types of organisations that deliver services which in some cases traditionally delivered through government, in some cases through charities. And it's an international debate about the extent to which business principles and methods of organising can be harnessed to provide a more stable and long-term approach for those social enterprises. Now, Rotary is one of the largest international social enterprises, even though it doesn't often acknowledge those terms. The work that was started in 1905 has followed effectively the use of techniques from the business world that members are part of, and applying it to social needs and social innovation. This club was extraordinary in the setup of some social enterprises in its first 10 years of activity. CCS, a major boost to the Plunkett Society, the underwriting of the Karatani Hospital, the Wellington Free Ambulance has continued to be supported. They're all in that kind of blue area. So to me it makes a perfect fit to be part of an international debate, and for this club and for Rotary in particular, the social enterprise theme is capturing the attention of people in their 20s and 30s, and that's that generation that this Rotary movement needs to get in touch with. And to put the context of careers and vocation and why the diversity of vocation in this club is important and can also contribute towards social enterprise, I want to give you a mathematical challenge. How many employers, how many careers have you had? Because this is just to emphasise why Vocational Service Committee is an important part of this club. Now, I've done the calculation for myself, so I expect you to get your maths going. Here's an example. So first half of my career, which I find to my astonishment now is 42 years in the workplace, and so quite rapid turnover in the early years, number of journalism roles, Development Finance Corporation, even working in that building, which here's a reflection of change, is it not? The Rugby Union building used to be the State Services Commission building. what change in careers is going on. So there's my 6 years per employer. I want to do a poll here. How many, let's have those who've had a single employer in their career. Right, and those who have had more than 10. Well, the more than 10 is likely to be the norm in the future, and that's where a club like Rotary is particularly important, because we're in an era that's similar to when Paul Harris founded this club. There's a single automobile amongst the horse carriages, and there's a single horse-driven vehicle in that period, and the change in the computing capacity at the moment is doing this. And the number of jobs which are subject to major change over the next 10 years is an example here of the most least likely to be computerised to accountants. 94 points. I'm being told I've got to get off the stage. So there's a bit of a challenge. Why vocation matters to this club.